Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry at Pam Perry's Picks, and we're going to be talking about some good books today on Amazon Live, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. Thanks for joining us today. And so, the main person that we're talking with today, the only person we're talking with today, is Game Face. People say you got to have that game face. So, yeah, that's what we're talking about having that game face. Corporate success strategies of a trailblazing tech warrior. And so we're going to be talking with Vicki, who hails out of Atlanta. And I want you all to really just like listen to the story. It's a memoir. It talks about really how women can, first of all, it was a male dominated field, and then being an African American woman. So we're going to really talk about all of those things in the memoir and then what she's doing now. Because really, it's like, what is she doing now? So, Vicki Wright Hamilton, we'll be talking with her right after this. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. She's been part of the Speak Sell Shine as well. So we can kind of talk a little bit about that as well, about the Speak Sell Shine and Ready, Set, Go Speak. Obviously, she's a speaker as well as a writer. So we'll talk to her right after this.
Hey yo, kick back, relax, let's dive in the page. Pam Perry Picks got the books for your brain. From fiction and non-fiction, all genres insane. We coming through showing love to the lit game. Greatest stories ever told, gotta find your pick. Imagination running wild, ain't nothing slick. Get lost in the pages, let your mind drift. Pam Perry Picks got your brain in the bookshelf vibe. Turning the pages with pride. Pam Perry Picks got the words by your side. Bookshelf vibe. Turning pages with pride. Pam Perry Picks got the words by your side. From the classics to new, we got the books for you. Get your mind right, let the knowledge accrue. Bookshelf vibe, expand your horizons wide. Pam Perry Picks keeping readers satisfied. Books up high, knowledge we can't deny. Get your reading on, flow book one fly. Click cover image.
I just love that. Bobby Ivory is my creative genius who made that song. So we're going to be talking with Vicki Wright Hamilton, and this is her one sheet right here. But we're going to talk about her unique game face methodology and her inspirational journey as a Black woman in the tech and business space that have made her a sought after coach and speaker. There you go. There you go. Yay! I love this. This, first of all, this cover is like fire. Okay. It is like fire. I'm like, oh my God. And so when you walk in a room, you own the room, don't you? I mean, this is like that necklace right there is saying, like, I'm gonna own this room.
Well, let's just say I had many decades of trying to work it on in the room, so it's all good.
Yes, yes. I mean, that is like one of the things that part of it is image, how we carry ourselves. And I'm gonna say this right out the front that I just love you. But we are both two Black women with the blonde hair. Okay, so we already stepping into a whole nother thing right there. Like it's like we already different. So they're like, wait, what?
Exactly,
And listen,
exactly.
it was a bold move when I did the blonde, I did it like streaked, and then all of a sudden I said, I'm gonna go all the way. If Mary J can do it, I'm gonna do it.
I
Okay.
know that's right. I know that's right.
But this book came out of, I guess you would say, pain to your purpose. So what you're doing right now, but this memoir, doing the thing, you're looking, 100%, $1 million, smile on, but a lot of it is a game face because when you're in those fields, they don't want you there. So kind
No.
of give us a little bit of backstory about what that was all about, Vicki.
Well, let me talk a little bit about why that memoir came about. My mother really, really encouraged me to write this book because I truly believe that we are 360. We don't go to work and leave something behind, and we don't come home and leave work behind. No matter how much we try and the things we look to do, it's all a part of us. And I had a lot of things happen in my life, both personally and professionally. And my mother said to me, you really need to tell your story. I was like, Mom,
Mm.
everybody got a story. Who wants to hear my story? And she said, but as a Black woman in technology and all the challenges you've gone through, think about the number of people you could impact and help.
Yes.
So when I wrote the book, I wrote it from the perspective of vulnerability. And I was not only vulnerable from a professional perspective, but a personal one.
Mhm.
Because I think that it's important for us to be authentic.
Mhm.
as we continue to move forward. I've been raped in my life. I've had divorce in my life. I've had a husband hit me in my life. Gone through men leaving me after being pregnant and having babies, and just a lot of things that we as women go through, but we're ashamed to talk about.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I really wanted to show, because so many people would say to me professionally, "Oh my gosh, you got it made. You got it made." I used to always tell them, "Look, you see the glory, but you don't know the
Know
story."
the story. Yes, yes. And that's where this story really is about. Imma read some of the chapters. The chapters 1 is the game face boot camp. Um, Poker. Do you play poker at all?
No.
No. So, because they always say if you play poker, you gotta have that game face, right? Because you can't be
Mhm.
you lose all your money, you lose
Yeah.
everything, so you gotta have a game face. And
Yeah, I
then
used to play chess instead. So chess was my game base.
yeah, you had to learn, and we learn how to do that game face when we're playing those kind of things. You talk about the values, the family values, the right family values, the sacrifice. Good girls get picked for great jobs first. So talk about that one. Good girls get picked for great jobs first. I like that particular one on that one there. And then we kind of go in the Minnesota and the pregnancy promotion and vision from God and all of these things. And then the Diary of a Single Black Mother. There used to be a book, a movie by Tyler Perry about the diary of a mad Black woman.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
this is the Diary of a Single Black Mother. And then
Right.
bad things happen to good people, back to love, back to school. And, just the things that you talk about, they are authentic things that other people have gone through, are still going through. And
Mhm.
sometimes we just need to know, are we the only one? Like,
Mhm.
are we the only one? And then when you feel like there is someone else that has gone through it and survived and thrived, then it gives you hope. And that's
Exactly.
that's the really
Exactly.
like the main thing. But let's talk about the chapter 4 there about good girls get picked for great jobs first, because that is probably when you're talking about when you arrived at University of Dayton.
So yeah. I got to college. My father was a professor at UD. So first of all, let's just be clear. I went to Spelman for 2.5 years. I'm a Spelmanite, always a Spelmanite. You can't take that away from me. Okay, let's just start there. But when I got to UD, I didn't want to be there, and I went into technology. And I took a test and I failed it
Oh,
in computer science. I get home and Daddy says, "I understand you failed a test today." I went, "Oh Lord." I
because he's
said,
a
"Yes."
professor. Because he's a
'Cause
professor.
he's a professor. And the chairman from my department was around the corner from him.
Oh
Okay.
no.
So
Oh my God.
he would always take joy in running to my daddy and telling him what I did. And so Daddy said, "What happened?" And I said, "Daddy, I really studied. I tried. I'm not sure. I'm going to go back through it so that I can improve the next time."
Mhm.
And he said, "Well, your professor said to me that he doesn't think you're fit to do MIS, which was my major of
Mm.
business and computer science, that he thought you need to think about changing your major." My mother got up on that table and she said, "Who the H does he think he is?" You know, he's not going to tell my baby what she can't do. Needless to say, went through lots of hard work of studying, and my mother was right there with me to make sure I made every step of the way. Needless to say, graduated, had a B plus average, and it stuck with me so much that I was like, "I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna take this negative energy and show him." So
Mhm.
I got my
Mhm.
first job and got promoted about 18 months later, and I got a check. And I knew my check was more than what he made. So I copied my check, sent him a note, and I said, "Dr. Blank, this is somebody that wasn't supposed to make it. Just
Mm,
thought I'd share with you what success looks like. Hope
mm.
you're doing well. And the check was more than his. So I didn't get enough joy out of this one. I didn't wait till the second time I got promoted where I knew I was 2.5 times his salary. And I did it again. I said, just keeping in touch, want to let you know what I'm doing. I hope all is going well. This is what it means not to his success.
Right, because
And
he
I mailed it to him. And from that point forward, I was like, yeah, you think I wasn't going to make it. But this good girl was going to make it through that and
mm,
beyond. And
mhm,
it was something that I had to prove not only to myself, but I want him to know.
mhm. Yeah, you can't let people discourage you like that and make you think like, "Oh, you're not gonna make it, you're not cut out for that." Let me decide that. Let me decide I wanna do something else, but don't tell me that what I can't do. So that is really the book is really about the resilience that you have, all the things in terms of what you've gone through. Now, the game phase, uh, when did that title come about? I know your mom kinda like inspired you to do the book. So
Yeah.
when did the title come about?
So
Was it
all of my life in technology, because I knew I was the only. I didn't have anybody looking around the table looking like me. And I knew I was being judged no matter where I did, how I sat, what I looked like, what I had on, what my hair looked like. It didn't matter. I was being judged, not to mention whatever came out of my mouth.
Mhm.
So I had to learn how to put that face on that you're not going to get to me, even when I might be burning on the inside, even when I might be upset on the inside, even when I knew that things were directed at me intentionally. I had
Mm.
to learn how to put that face on.
Whew.
I had to learn how to take it in. I had to learn what it meant to kill them with kindness and
Mhm.
smile, right? When you are just inside going, you're in turmoil and all of that. And that's where game face came from. There's no secret that there's a certain amount of strategy that
Mm.
represents game face. And that's what it is. It's looking at the strategy that it takes to be successful and to make a difference.
I like that because we don't really learn that in school,
No,
right? We learn how to do the work. We learn the book stuff, but we don't learn the corporate politics, really what we're talking about. We don't learn all of those emotional feelings of like how do like pretty much it's like you want to punch some people out, like really. It's like you just don't I'm gonna take these earrings off.
that's right.
So that part is right? That part is not taught. So you teach this now as a leadership strategist, a person that kind of like is an
Yeah,
executive coach, really helping primarily women, and especially women who are in C-suite to kind of navigate the landmines
that's
because
correct.
it could be a lot. And so when you were talking about game face, we didn't, at least I didn't. I was like really the first generation of my family to go to college. And then there was no one to really, working in corporate world. I mean, my dad was blue collar, so it was like no one could really show me. I didn't have any mentors,
Mhm,
and there weren't like the mentors there that are available now.
mhm.
So, how did you really learn to navigate that? Was it trial and error? Was it a mentor? Was it books? Were there particular books? I know I read a book a long time ago about um I think it was Helen Gurley Brown. I think that was years ago. Who she was like she was the editor or the publisher of Cosmopolitan. That wasn't
Mhm.
my story though. I'm
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
Cosmopolitan girl. So
yeah.
how did you learn
Well,
strategy?
let me say a couple of things. Number one, I think that for me, one of the gifts God blessed me with was the ability to read a room and to
Mm,
read the environment.
mhm,
So it was a natural talent for me to have to be able to do that. But I quickly learned that I had to be able to speak their language. I had to be able to understand what they were saying in their terms so I could give it right back to them. Well,
yes.
isn't this the way you did it? Isn't this what we're supposed to be doing? I learned this from you, giving them the credit but letting them not be able to downplay what I was doing.
Mhm.
So as I began to build these strategies, I just started keeping track of what those strategies were. When they would talk about books, so Good to Great came out. I knew that book inside and out. I knew
Mhm.
all about the bus, getting on the right seat, what it took, what it meant, all of that. I learned it really, really well.
Yeah.
When Gail King talked about the woman in the corner office, I read that book. As I read the book, I said, okay, what pieces can I take from this? But it
Mhm.
was self taught. I didn't have mentors, I
Mhm.
didn't have anybody to look up to. I
Mhm.
was the somebody. I was the one everybody was looking up to me. I
The
didn't
sim
have anybody. So for
Mhm.
the longest, it's always like walking in the room, you're the only. I mean, I can remember during diversity month that they would have to come and talk about their executives. Can I tell you how much press I got during that time? Because they didn't have a lot to choose from in technology. I was it. So I got on this poster, that poster, this article, that article, that. See, we got somebody black, we got somebody black, we got minority, we got diversity. So I didn't have that at all. And I promised myself that because I didn't, I was always going to be that for someone else.
Mhm. That's it. It is when we kinda make it through, it doesn't make for a success if we make it through, make to the top if we're by ourselves.
Amen.
And I am always that person that, hey, I've learned a secret. I'm going to share it with my community. I'm going to share it with my tribe. That
That's
has
right.
always been me. So if I'm going to bust through, it's never like, oh, well, she's the first, she's the only. And it's like, well, that's not a something to be proud about. We need to bring in
Exactly.
more. I think Kamala Harris said the same thing too.
Exactly.
That she said
Exactly.
that she's the first. She said, "But I don't wanna be the only." So that
That's
that
right.
that kind of the attitude. So this book was your first book that, basically was your memoir and things like that. Do you use this as a coaching tool? Do you when you're executive coaching with people, do you say, "Hey, I want you to kinda take some pages from this book," or did you create a program out of the book?
So I created a program out of the book,
Ah,
but I always reference the book in terms of how it came about. And what I do is in my program, I customize everything one on one. I don't
okay.
believe it's a one size fits all. I
No.
meet you where you are, the challenges that you're having, and then I'll pull out what's applicable within my methodology of how to apply it. And I
Mm,
think, some of the feedback I have received from a lot of my coaches is that I never heard it in that perspective before. I never thought about it that way before. So I know that what I have is unique, but it's also applicable to individuals as they're running against trials and tribulations. Because the foundation of everything, Dr. Pam, is this: all of us listen to a favorite radio station every day. And the radio station is WIIFM. What that is to me. And everything we do, we want to understand that impact. So when people reach out, first of all, it's hard enough to admit and to be in a position to say, I need help. I
it
need
is.
to talk to someone. That's not easy.
It
That's
is.
not easy because we're taught to be tough. We're taught that we're super women. We can do anything.
The strong
So to
black
be in
woman
exactly that
syndrome.
strong black woman syndrome.
Mhm.
And so I want to help them to feel comfortable and to know it's okay. You are in a safe space. So
Mhm.
I meet them where they are and I tailor the programs to what they need. And if they're looking for stories, make relevant to my book. Well, let
Mhm.
me give you one of the things that I went through. It's even in my book,
Yeah.
so that they can begin to understand. I've been there. I understand. I can
Right.
relate to you.
Yeah. That's the thing. People don't feel like, oh, well, she wouldn't understand. It's like, no, read my book. You understand. I've been there, done that, got the
Mhm.
t-shirt. Okay. So
Mhm.
name some of the cities that you've lived in because originally you're from, and then Minnesota, Tennessee.
Okay.
So
So
talk about
I'm an Air Force brat.
okay. Okay.
I
That's why.
was the Air Force brat, and I
Okay.
spent a lot of time out of the country and in the country.
Wow.
Once my father, I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Far East, in the Philippines, Hong Kong, Japan,
Wow.
Okinawa.
Wow.
Just spent a lot of time, out of the country, and then we got back into the country, did the same. Once Daddy got out of the service, it was so funny because my father used to say to me, "You move around just as much for your job as I did when I was in the military." I was like, well, "Look, you gotta go where the opportunities are, right?"
That's true.
And I was always one to not be afraid to take risks. So as I got promoted, it may mean a relocation. So I started in Minneapolis, Minnesota, went to Memphis, Tennessee, went to Jacksonville, Illinois, went to St. Louis, Missouri, and then ended up in Atlanta.
Okay.
And as I got here, I knew this was home. Well, when
Yeah.
I went to Spelman, I always say I'm coming back home. And my
Mhm.
mother used to be dean of Spelman at one time. So,
Okay,
and
okay.
and yeah, and I have some family here, but I was like, Atlanta's gonna be home. So I've been here longer than I have been anywhere else in my life. I've been here going on 27 years.
Wow.
So the entire time that I've been married. But I love living everywhere because the beautiful thing, you can accept change. You adapt and you don't take things for granted. I never knew when I was gonna have to pack a bag and leave. I went
Mhm.
to all these different schools and I'd have to make new friends and people grew up together and knew each other. I didn't have that. I
Mhm.
didn't have that to relate to. I didn't start with kindergarten and go through. I've only
Mhm.
been here 2 years. I've only been here 2 years. So it
Right.
was one of those things where you learn to adapt. And I think it's one of the things that allows me to leverage one of the skill sets that I bring is understanding change management and how to make that happen strategically, whether
Mhm.
it's navigating the cultural waters, whether it is strategically looking at your business and what you're doing and how you move forward. But I think that's one of the reasons that I'm able to do that is because of that experience and exposure.
I do think that is true, and that can also be a niche too because a lot of people are have been in families where they were army and or different ones where they had to move a lot. And so they're looking for people that understand that experience. Someone who's
Hmm.
lived overseas, someone who's moved a whole
Hmm.
lot of different times. So when you meet someone who has done that, you can kind of like help them navigate some of the things that they're probably feeling because they've gone through that. Living in the Philippines is one of the things that I just met a gentleman the other day and he said he lives in Taiwan. He said he loves
Hmm.
Taiwan and this and that and but he's from Chicago. And I was like, "Oh my god," so different things where we have these experiences make you one, your programs are different, but two, you can relate to different people where
Hmm.
you can speak their language. I remember a young lady who started I want to say it was a group or a community, and they were like army wives. And it was like
Hmm.
the women who were married to people who were in the army. And they came together, I think it was a Facebook group or something, because they were always, it's like we're trying to raise these kids and we're always moving. And they had a group and they had a
Hmm.
community. And so that's one of the things too. Whenever there's things that are unique about you, those are part of the things that make your story different. Obviously your story different, but also your programming different and your language difference and when you're marketing your programs and things like that, because people will understand you better because oh, she's been through some of those things or I understand that as well. And some people will say, oh, okay, well, she's in technology, but you don't just talk to people in technology. Technology is what everybody does now because we're in that
Exactly.
age, but
Exactly.
you were in it way before, and
Exactly.
what does MIS stand for? What was
It's
management?
called Management Information Systems. It's a
I
combination, and so take it to where I am today. It's a combination of business and a
yeah,
combination of technology. So I
yeah,
can talk all business language. I can talk all industries, all areas, as technology is industry agnostic, but the exposure and those kinds of things. And I talk to technologists. It's really interesting because a lot of my clients are not necessarily in technology.
yeah,
A lot of them are in many other industries. I've got manufacturing, I've got healthcare, I've got, lots of different areas
mhm. Intersect
that I
they
work. Yeah,
intersect with
because
technology,
right,
period. Mhm.
because strategy is strategy, and understanding your culture and your environment is your culture and your environment, right? And so in terms of how you're going to exist and how you're going to manage and understanding the waters that nobody gives you an instruction book to.
Mm, mm. I love this book because it's very easy to read. Like you said, it is authentic. At the chapter 13, action speaks louder than words. And one of the things you said, I had a dream opportunity knocked on my door and I had to answer. I always wanted to be the COO. And then you kind of go in there about you left one particular job and opportunity, but kind of talk a little bit about that particular situation or chapter, I
So
guess you would say.
let's talk about that a little bit. So, and this is the other thing I think is important for people to know. Sometimes you got to take side steps. Sometimes you got to take backward steps. Sometimes you got to do a lot of different things in order to put the right, all of my mentees will tell you, put the tools in the toolbox so you're ready for the next construction site. That's what I always
Hmm.
say.
Hmm.
But when I got an opportunity, I'd always thought to myself, I want to be a COO. But as a Black person, they're not going to give me this opportunity, right? Not in this area. They're not going to do it. How am I going to do that? So all of a sudden, somebody knocked on my door and they said to me, it's a private firm. It was equity owned, private investors. You'll get to sit on the board. You'll be a C level. You'll have all of these responsibilities. And I said, you know what? This is exactly what I want to try to do. But here's what I want the listeners to know. I did not increase $1 in my income.
Mm.
I did it because the tools that I was getting were worth much more than
Yes.
the dollar in my
Yes.
base income. So I
Yes.
took a dollar. The upside and why I did it was really about ownership, being
Yeah.
on the board, being with investors. Because I said, if we ever sell the company, I'll get my pay. Guess what? We sold the company.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
gamble was worth it, right?
Yes.
But I think a lot of times we're always thinking about what's there and not thinking about the art of the possible. And
Mm.
one of the things I work with my clients as they're making decisions, think about the art of the possible of what could be. This is not your stopping stone. You got many ways to go, many places to go. So the art of the possible is really out there. We just need to explore that.
I love that. One of the things when I was in corporate, I've been in my company now 24 years, but early in my career, I would have loved to had a book like this, a mentor like you, a coach like you. And so I really want to encourage people that you can learn by mistakes or mentors. So one of the things that's easiest to do is to get a mentor because you don't want to stumble and make all the mistakes because a mentor or a coach is someone that you would pay to help you navigate and make it a shorter distance rather than something taking 5 years may only take you a year. That's
Hmm.
worth it because of
Hmm.
the experience that someone like Vicki Wright Hamilton has had. And those kind of things are so valuable because it's not just like, oh, I'm coaching with her for 6 months or a year. Those lessons that you would learn from her are for a lifetime, and that's the point I really want people to understand. It's like what you learn from a book. That's why I love books too. That's why I do Pam Paris Picks. I love books. What you learn from a book can change your life, not just from reading that one book that one time, but for continually for a lifetime. And
Hmm.
so you can learn from a mentor. You can learn from mistakes. I always say learn from a mentor. Get a coach. Get a coach for every. We have a coach if we want to get a personal trainer. Someone showing the right way how to lift the weights. You got a coach to if you're a singer, even Beyonce has like a singing coach, so Stephanie Mills has a sing, you have coaches. So in your business life, which is probably what 50% or more of our life, 70%, you should have a coach. That's just like such a natural part. And the other part that you do as well is you do corporate training. So speak a little bit of some of that. Well, let's direct people to your website and what they can get there as well. But you do corporate trainings as well, and you do a lot of virtual events as well. But if you go to Vicki Wright Hamilton, what will they get there if we go over
So if you go to VickiWrightHamilton.com, you can download my leadership in times of transition.
ah,
That is a write up about what that really means. And I think it's relevant, especially in these times. We're in economic times where we are hearing about layoffs, we're hearing about things happen. We are trying to navigate the waters and to find out if I'm impacted, what do I do? How do I move forward? What's the next step? So
Mm.
go to the website and download the article. I know it'll give you a lot of insights and some steps that you can take and guide you through the right direction to move forward.
That is so good because in the world of or the era of AI now, there's a lot of jobs that will be taken away because of AI, but that doesn't mean that there won't be other opportunities. So it's a
Correct.
transition time that we're in right now.
Hmm.
Transition is happening with the advent of AI being so popular. Now it's been
Yeah,
around for a long time, but being more popularized. And so people are really using more AI. It used to be a time where you would hire a copywriter to maybe write your copy for your website. So now you don't have to anymore with
right.
the advent of some particular tools. So what does a copywriter do now? I mean, so they have to know how to navigate change and that kind of thing. So I appreciate that because it is navigating change is one of the things that people don't like to do. They
That's
don't like
right.
change. They
That's right.
fight change. It's what was that book where it was Snuffy? Who moved my cheese?
Yeah.
Oh
Who
my
moved my
God.
cheese? That's
Who moved
right.
my people do not like when you move their cheese. They
You
are
got
mad.
that right.
They are mad about it. But
You got that right.
they have to learn how to navigate it. And that's
Yeah.
really what you teach in your change person that teaches change management because that
Yes.
is the biggest thing, that will take a company down. I mean, look at Kodak. I mean, Kodak
Yep.
was at one point synonymous with picture taking. And now
Exactly.
it's like, where is Kodak? They didn't get with the change. They didn't get with the program.
Exactly.
So really bringing you into corporations to talk about change
Hmm.
management, how to get their leadership to understand change is really,
Hmm.
really important. And then you could click the link and get her book, and really it's a good, we're coming up on like graduation, things like that. I think someone just graduating from college would do well by reading this book, knowing what's going to be ahead of them in their career. Okay, because it's not all going to be like, oh, I'm gonna get my degree, I'm gonna get a good job, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have a baby, and I'm gonna have a happily ever after.
If
No,
only life were that easy.
yeah, it's all gonna be like some twists and turns. So just be prepared. Just know that okay, if I read this book I mean, if she has some of those things happen to her, then I can know that I can survive and thrive as well. So thank you so much for coming on Pam Perry's Picks. And this has been really good. And thank you for being part of Ready, Set, Go Speak and Speak, Sell, and Shine. Because I've seen you just skyrocket so many places. And it's like, I can't keep up with all the places that you're popping up. I'm trying to get you and another Speak, Sell, Shine. Both of you guys are just busy. It's like, I got something to do. I'm speaking. I was like, okay, well, we'll get together one day. So maybe we'll have a reunion. Maybe we'll have a
That
reunion.
would be great.
Yes,
That would be
I think
great.
I
That
think
would
I
be
will
great.
have.
But after all, Dr. Pam, we're doing what we were taught. You told us always be ready and
I
let's
always be ready.
go. There's
Yes,
not a better time than right now. So
it
that's
is.
all we're doing. We're doing what you taught us. You taught us
And
to get out there and make it happen.
get
That's
out
what
there
we're
and get
doing.
it is. It is one of the things too, and it really collaboration too, because YB talks about that a lot. And I see
Yes.
a lot of people in our community collaborating and things like that. And even the new people that come in Ready, Set, Go Speak. Pam Luhang is working with Tari Donaldson, and then just I'm just seeing this because it is even though it seems like there's a lot of people doing this, it really isn't. It's still a small community, so we
Mhm.
need to have more of us. I saw Fawn Weaver say this the other day. I love her. She's head of Uncle Nearest. It's a
Mhm.
$1 billion alcohol. I don't drink the alcohol,
Yes.
but I just love what she did with the company. But
Yes.
she says there's no such thing as competition. She says because we can all have a piece of the pie
That's
if
right.
we make a bigger pie.
That's
And what
right.
she was saying is that we can
Come
be
together.
all millionaires and billionaires. She says it's a bigger pie. And I really love when she said that. I was like, okay, Fawn. A little note that Fawn, I knew her mom, or I know her mom,
Oh my gosh.
Bunny Wilson and Frank Wilson. Frank Wilson is from Detroit Motown
Oh,
writer,
okay.
and Bunny
Mhm.
is a pastor, actually a pastor. So those two, seeing Frank has gone on to be with the Lord, but Bunny is still around. But
Mhm.
to see just how much Fawn has just blossomed
Mhm.
And she's a PK. I mean, so she has a gift of storytelling and speaking. So I saw that naturally, but I had no idea she would become like this billion-dollar brand, right? It's like, oh my God, look at little Fawn. But yeah, I digress. I digress. You can learn from anybody.
That's right. But the thing is what I want to think, what I want to say is you talked about getting a coach. And it's also about understanding where your talents are and where they don't. When I came out and did Speak Sell Shine, I knew what I didn't know. I knew nothing about this. And it's so funny because you would ask a question and I go, well, you're the expert. I have no clue. What are you talking about? It's like I'm hiring a coach. You tell me. I don't know. But the way that you work with a coach to help you to think about things differently,
Yes.
to find where it is you really need to go and what you need to do and how to do it, and to
Mhm,
really understand what it means is what it's all about.
mhm.
And you talk about seeing me thrive and all of that. That's a credit to you.
Oh,
It was through your Speak Sell Shine, it's through the community, Ready, Set, Go. It's through, helping each other. I sent
mhm,
some business to YB the other day. It's really helping us to move forward. But what you have created is something that allows us to know we all can be successful. And
mhm.
if we just follow the recipe that was given to us, boy, you gave us a blessing beyond blessing. So it was because of you. So I hope people are thinking about it. If they're not, they need to, because they're missing out.
Yeah.
And when you look for the best, you look for someone who not only relates to you, has been there, but is willing to share. And
Mm.
that's you all day long.
Yep, I am willing to share. I always tell people, "You can take it, you can bake it," right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You
But
can take
that's
it,
the favorite auntie.
yes, it's kinda like, "Okay, I've recommended 4 books. How many have you read this week?" It's like, "Well, I just got this book." "Well, okay, well, get the other book too. Get this book too." I was like, the biggest thing that I always say this, when I go to someone's house, I look at how beautiful everything is, but I always say, "Do you have a library?" And I go and I always check out their books. It tells me a lot about the person. It really does, and so if I ever come to your house and it's like, "Do you have a library?" And I look at your books,
Yes.
and so a lot I did that with, Sharon. The first time I met Sharon in one of her house, and we had so many of the same books, I was cracking up. I said, "No wonder we are buddies." I said, "I got all the same books." Same thing with Kadena. I said, "Look at that." I said, "We all have the same books." I said, "But we all buy the books. We are not like buying one book and then passing it along." Okay,
Yeah.
so we wanna buy our own books and have our own books. So, yeah, that is thank you so much for that. That is it's really important. One of the things a coach will do is pull things out of you. They see you and they ask you questions to make you think. I can't just tell you everything, but it's like, okay, well, have you thought about this or questions? And I will ask the questions because it's like, okay, I would know what you need to answer and I can kind of see it in you, but it's like, okay, I want you to marinate on that and I understand where
Mhm.
you're going with that. And so
Mhm.
I see that, but I love your YouTube channel, the changes that
Thank
you've made
you.
on that. I see that it's coming together.
Thank
It's
you.
it's a lot, but we one of the main things is I want people to go to your website, follow you on all the social media. You're active. I love what you do on LinkedIn. That's where we hang out. We're grown folks hang out on the link.
Yep. Yep.
So make sure that you follow her there and then get a book. So make sure that you get a book. So thank you so much, Vicki Wright Hamilton. It's great having you on Pam's Spirit Pick.
Thank you.
All right, take care. So that is make sure you get the book. Go to Vicki Wright Hamilton, download her one sheet that she was telling you about, and make sure that you get that. And then follow us too as well on readysetgospeak.com. If you want to join our community, you can. You'll be meeting up with great folks like Vicki and all the rest. So I'm Pam Perry, and I'm out. Take care. Bye bye. Got one little thing here. Here we go.